Hello, welcome back and thank you for joining me. Recently I've started to notice that almost all of the accounts I have on the map are very close to an ancient site or well, and they're all within easy walking distance of a megalith, a barrow, or some very ancient structure. So as a new account came to me today from the Paranormal database, it was passed to me by Warren Port, and it's from a soldier serving in 2002 in the Salisbury Plain area. So I visited the map and I had a look, and there's quite a few accounts on there, so I figured I'd read some of them out to you because I think you'd find them interesting. And the first one was from 1877, which is a very early account and a little funny in a way. It says, a wild man who lived in the woods was shot at when he, oh my goodness, was shot at when he attacked and tried to kidnap a local farmer's wife. The creature was never seen again. Well, I wouldn't imagine it was. That's probably why we didn't get another sighting until 1990. And this one is the Stonehenge figure, and I think most of you will know, regardless of where you come from in the world, about Stonehenge. So on November the 18th, 1990, a young couple had been visiting relatives and were driving home at around 8:30 that night. They decided to stop off and have a look at Stonehenge. The couple noticed an eerie orange light coming from a clump of trees nearby. The light emerged and began to track their car as they approached the stones. As they neared the stones, the car headlights illuminated a bank of fog, and when they got out of the car, everything was very still. Then they noticed a dark figure standing next to one of the stones, at about 7 feet tall, almost as broad, and completely black and featureless. This figure then began to plod purposely towards them, stomping its feet heavily. Understandably, the couple ran back to their car. The figure kept on coming though, and it reached the car just as the couple drove off. I would have been terrified, I'll be honest at that. The next one is a very strange one, and I'll probably pronounce it wrong. It's the Salisbury chimera. This is a strange one. An odd chimera-type beast was seen many times during this month. It was described in many different ways, and no one witness seemed to agree. It was described as being cat-like, kangaroo-like, raccoon-like, but what piqued the interest of our team is a couple of the descriptions that came in said that it had the gait of a monkey. And another description said it was 2 feet tall and had a sloping back. I have no idea what those witnesses saw. I wouldn't mind seeing it though. That would be an amazing creature to see. And the next one, and this is the one that pointed the other accounts. This is the one that Warren passed to me today. The Salisbury Hairy Man, 2002. George Price reported something which had lived in his mind as clear as day for 8 years. It happened in September 2002 when he was serving in the army, and he wrote, "We were on exercises on Salisbury Plain. I was a commander in a turret of our tank, and we were advancing to contact our warriors. I was scanning the landscape when I turned to my 5 o'clock and looked right at a large ape-like figure. It looked scared because of the noise from the engines and tanks. We were moving at speed all around. I couldn't believe my eyes. So I punched my gunner to look at it because he couldn't hear me over the engine. We both saw it run into a nearby prickly shrub. Its fur was similar to an orangutan in colour, and its length and flow of it. Its face looked black or very dark, but I couldn't see its facial features, being I was too high and the angle I was stood looking from. It was more the gait that stood out, the way it moved. It was very fast, and it seemed to run with long strides. Its height was impressive too. It must have been at least 6 foot, probably more, but it seemed to run with its back low, and he described this as it was running bent over. It was an amazing sight to see it disappear into the shrubs. I kept staring at the spot as my tank was moving away, but it never emerged again, as if there was a hole below the bush it had dived into. I observed the area at distance for a while via the tank's optics, but nothing else was seen. it must have been terrified to be there when half of the British Army were tearing up Salisbury Plain. And that's his words, not mine. I told my superior as soon as we stopped, but it was just laughed off, so I never mentioned it much after. I did ask my gunner about it, and he said he had seen it, but not well enough to describe it. It has bothered me to this day, so I thought I would share it with you. I wish I had stopped to see it now. It was right next to me. It was all very strange. That's a wonderful account, because it's from a witness who wasn't frightened by the creature. Unfortunately, the figure that he saw was frightened by the noise that was being made, and you know, even as a human, that would frighten me. Tanks advancing onto me. But there does seem to be quite a lot of activity in this area. And the last one I have for you is from a lady who I've known through Facebook and has now become a friend. Her name's Jean Purchase. She's a lovely lady. And it was listening to other witness accounts that made her realise that she'd had a strange account in 2012 and she'd forgotten about it. And this happens quite a lot, to be honest. When, you know, we've discussed this before, when somebody comes forward with something, it will trigger a memory or recall something for somebody that will think, oh, actually, that happened to me. And this is what Jean had to say. So this account fits in just right with the other sightings in the area, and I'd like to thank Jean for allowing me to share this with you. And Jean said, after watching some Bigfoot reports, something came to mind that I had forgotten all about. About 4 to 5 years ago, my partner Ian and I were driving back from visiting our daughter in Brighton. The sat-nav sent us all around the houses, and we ended up on the minor roads, and we were not familiar with them. But eventually we found our way back to the A303. It was cold and dark and very foggy, and Ian stopped in a lay-by surrounded by countryside, and we must have been very close to the plains at this point. My husband got out for a smoke and to stretch his legs, as he'd been driving for quite a while. He wasn't out of the car for a minute, but soon got back in really quickly, saying, I'm not staying out there any longer, there's an odd noise. And to be honest, I could hear it too. Anyway, he got spooked, and I got spooked, and we couldn't wait to drive away from there. I honestly don't know what it was, but the feeling of dread was very strong and unusual for us. So we drove away quickly, and afterwards we put it out of our minds. We didn't recognise the screeching sound, but I know it wasn't a fox or a deer call. I've heard those before. It could have been an owl, I guess, but not one I've ever heard. It's funny looking back on it, but I just remembered how spooked we were. It makes me wonder what it really was. We both grew up in rural areas, so we're used to the normal animal sounds and calls, and neither were scary easily. And it was about 5 minutes drive from the A303 that it happened. There's quite a few accounts in that area, I'll be honest, and as I said, that over and over again I'm finding that with the UK accounts, there's always something that I can find in that area, and that intrigued me. I wondered if it was because they're old, I don't know, what would you call them, like a cairn, a road sign maybe that's how I can say it, that they were old signs that were noticeable, and that those routes are still being covered. And then I wondered if it had anything to do with the energies that we get at these areas. And I would like to look a little bit more into that. So if there's anybody out there that's had a strange experience, not particularly Bigfoot, anything, a strange experience, while they've been in an area where they've been, say, visiting a barrow or a stone circle or a standing stone or something, or if you've had a strange encounter, and there is an actual map out there, there's a megalithic portal map that you'll find on Google, and that has all of everything across the world dated on there, so you would be able to find it. Have a look and see if there's one near you, and if there is and you get a chance to visit, it'd be wonderful if you could let me know how you get on, and even better if you could send me some photographs, because like I say, it's something I'm very interested in. I would like to carry on with that side of the research and see if I can match. I think I've matched around about 300 now. So I would like to carry on with the rest and see if I can match them up again. And if I do, obviously, as always, I will bring them here for you. And thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Until next time, thank you very much and goodbye.